Okay, so there's a lot of hype around methylene blue. And I know many of you have been asking me about it, and I've been using it. I've been a fan of methylene blue for many years. And I'm sure lots of you have questions like, why is your mouth blue? And how long does it stay stained? And what are the benefits? And how do you use it? Well, I curated this nice little video presentation and I extracted it from when Dr. Scott Sherr was on the Power Project with Mark Bell and Enzima. And Dr. Sherr, he has been on my podcast before, and we just didn't have enough time to cover all there is to know about methylene blue. But now this is a really, really dense bit of information that I think will help a lot of you. It'll help to address a lot of the questions and concerns you might have about it. Also, it might help you to understand how you might use it for whatever it is you want to use it for. So this is that.
It's all the hype on methylene blue.
It's been around forever, man. It's been around since 1897. It was the first drug that was registered with the FDA back then. It was actually a treatment for malaria. It got this cool magic bullet term because you could give really high doses of it and it would not have any detrimental effect on human cells, but it would kill bugs, it would kill pathogens and kill cancer cells, interestingly enough. And so it was really well used before 1950 because that's when nothing else existed except for methylene blue from an antimicrobial perspective, used for malaria, other infections. Back during World War II, the pilots that were in the Pacific had to take methylene blue prophylactically. And they all had these stories because one of the fancy and fun yet benign side effects of taking methylene blue is it concentrates in your urine. So you piss blue. So they had all these stories and songs about pissing blue. And from there, the first antipsychotics were actually derived from methylene blue because it's got some neurotransmitter effects. It increases serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. So it actually is a mood booster on its own. It's been studied for depression. It's been studied in bipolar. And from there, it got a really new life because we found that it concentrates in the mitochondria itself. And there's a really nice and really cool researcher down at University of Texas, Austin. His name is Francisco Gonzalez Lima. And he's done a lot of work on Alzheimer's models using methylene blue as a reversal agent, basically in animal models. And so we know that it's got this fantastic capacity to improve mitochondrial function at low doses, no matter what's wrong with the mitochondria, which is pretty amazing. So we have these 4 complexes on the mitochondria. They're called proteins. There's complex 1, 2, 3, and 4. And many people have a dysfunction of the first 2 especially. And what it can do is it can actually bypass and regenerate parts of the electron transport complex to help it make it work better so you can make more energy. And it can also, at the other end of it, it can help with the detoxification side. So as we were talking about earlier, when you make energy, you also make free radicals. And so you have to be able to neutralize those. So what methylene blue can do is actually can neutralize those free radicals at the same time as making energy as well. So it's kind of like this, it's called the redox cycler is the fancy term for it. And there's very few other compounds that do that. So it's gotten a huge boost since the pandemic. And that's because it improves mitochondrial function. And at higher doses, it's also an antiviral. And it does this in a very interesting way, but it basically builds up the production of something called hydrogen peroxide. Everybody's heard of hydrogen peroxide before, but our cells actually make this. They make it to kill organisms, viruses, bacteria, fungus, and it can do this in a very controlled way in your cells to help kill bugs. And so higher doses of methylene blue will increase the hydrogen peroxide production in your cells and kill bugs and kill viruses. So that's a pretty fancy way it can be used as well. So it's got a lot of press over the last 4 or 5 years. We were the first company to make a commercial product actually right before the pandemic started, a combination of methylene blue with nicotine, caffeine, and CBD, which is kind of more of a fantastically focused product. There's a lot of methylene blue as well pre-workout because it increases your aerobic capacity as well because it can act just like oxygen.
What have you guys seen with methylene blue? Like obviously you get your clients and they say, I feel good or I feel better. Those are all things, but what else, is there any blood work or lab testing or is there anything that's like really clear? It sounds like it's working great. It sounds like it's making a huge impact on a lot of folks, but is there any tangible thing that we can link it back to?
So from a technology perspective, we've been looking at hypoxic training with methylene blue and using various things like VO2 Max testing. And that's something that we have seen significant benefit. So if you do hypoxic training and then you do aerobic training after that, your VO2 Max will go up by a significant percentage. So that's one thing, at least objective.
Just a couple of weeks of usage or a couple of days, even just like
just a couple sessions. Wow. Yeah, you'll see it immediately. Most of the time, when you get the right dose, usually that dose is going to be at least 16 milligrams of methylene blue. So
Did I keep it in the cheek, by the way? Or?
Upper cheek and gum.
Okay.
Upper cheek
Just
and gum.
popping more of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it going. Yeah. Start off with, we make these things called troches. They're these dissolvable lozenges that you guys were just using before. And they're scored, so you can kind of break them up into like a quarter, a half, or a full, depending on what you need. And for Methylene Blue specifically, I usually have people start off with a quarter of one of the troches, and I increase their dose every 3 to 5 days. And then depending how they feel, once they feel great, it could be at 4 milligrams, it could be at 8 milligrams, it could be at 16. Then that's when you see the major benefit, that's the dose you stay at. If you're using it for performance, though, and you're relatively well optimized, then you can usually start off at a higher dose, usually 8 or 16, and then that's usually going to be your dose overall.
Quick question about the performance aspect of the Methylene Blue,
Yeah.
And just the Methylene Blue.
Yeah.
How does it affect a performance athlete? Someone like a grappler, someone like anyone who's doing cardiovascular work. How does it affect them?
So Methylene Blue can increase endurance is the short story. And it does that because it can act just like oxygen. So if you're doing aerobic work, you can do more aerobic work for longer as a result of taking Methylene Blue. Because what happens when you go into anaerobic is when you stop having enough oxygen around to make energy. So what can happen is if you have enough of something like oxygen that can give you that boost without having as much oxygen around, you're going to get that endurance boost. So for endurance athletes, they do really well on using Methylene Blue for that reason. We have our other one called Blue Canatine, which is a combination with the nicotine and caffeine, and that's giving you more of the anaerobic. So if you're doing more lifting, heavy, the anaerobic side of things, you tend to do much better with that. Most people,
Okay.
a lot of people use caffeine pre-workout, right? So it's the same kind of idea, but this is caffeine times 10.
Yeah, no, this is stuff that gets me excited. Definitely gets me excited. Try this before training, try this before competition.
Yeah,
Come out
so
blue tongue on the mat.
Yeah. So the guy that I was working with that did the Leadville race didn't have diarrhea because he was taking glutamine,
Mhm.
and he took 32 milligrams of Methylene Blue straight, and then a Blue Canatine every 4 hours as well. And he trained with it first. I don't recommend you do it just for your race, obviously. You do it beforehand in training and see how you feel. But once he did that, he cut out 3 hours of his time from the year before.
Damn.
And he didn't have any diarrhea, so he wasn't shit on himself. So that's always nice.
And again, no sides, really. No side effects.
So the major thing you want to think about with Methylene Blue side effect wise is it can cause headaches in some people when you first start it. So that's why you typically, if you're not well optimized, you want
It's
to
a
start
good way to know that you took too high of a dosage, probably too.
It can be. The other thing you also have to be aware is if you are on hypertensive medications, if you have high blood pressure, Methylene Blue can increase blood pressure a little bit. It doesn't typically do it a whole lot, but if you have high blood pressure already and you're on like 3 or 4 medications, then you probably don't want to take it very quickly. You want to start off at very low doses, watch your blood pressure, and make sure it's not going up. The major other thing you'll find is that when people have a lot of muck shit in their system, inflammation, toxic load, et cetera, once you're starting to optimize that and start taking some Methylene Blue, you'll find that you might get what are quote detox symptoms as you do it. So a little bit of abdominal pain, muscle achy, joints, things like that can happen. But I've seen it on the other side where people have severe joint pain, aching, et cetera. They take Methylene Blue and all that stuff goes away. And that's very common too, actually.
Yeah, for a couple minutes, I was like, "Is this going to be okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is okay."
Yeah, it's nice, right? Well, thanks for the time. This has been a lot of fun. So my company, a couple companies, the one that has the products is called TroScriptions. It's TROscriptions, so TRO, like prescriptions, but with a TRO in front of it. You can find us on Instagram at TroScriptions. We have troscriptions.com. We have a number of different products. We talked about many of them here. We talked about our Methylene Blue product, pure Methylene Blue called Just Blue. We talked about our combination of Methylene Blue with nicotine, caffeine, and CBD. That's called Blue Canatine. That's our focus product. We talked also about TroCalm. TroCalm is for relaxation, stress reduction. It's great. You can take it during the day to decrease your stress level, to wind down in the evenings. It's great for decreasing the amount of thoughts from 120,000 to about 70,000 thoughts a day. Your average number. Remember, everybody, don't believe what you think. And it helps you calm down and it can help you sleep for that reason. We also have something called TroZzz, which we didn't chat about, but TroZzz is our comprehensive sleep formula. It really does help with all aspects of sleep. It has that agarine in there with the psychedelic mushroom, the Amanita muscaria mushroom. So it's non-psychedelic at low doses, and you just can't buy it in Louisiana for whatever reason. That mushroom's legal there. So sorry, Louisiana people, but it's fantastic for sleep. And then we have something called, oh, it's fantastic. And I use it all the time with travel, especially. It's really great for jet lag, really great for time zone shifts. A little bit of melatonin and 5-HTP in there as well. And then finally, the one we didn't talk about, something called TroMune, which is one ingredient called cordyceps from the cordyceps mushroom. Cordyceps is about 100 times more powerful than cordyceps mushroom for immune system support, decreasing inflammation, increases deep sleep. I take it all the time when I travel, and I have 4 kids, and it's been 1 year of beautiful bliss of not getting sick since I started taking it. So, and then our nonprofit is called Health Optimization Medicine and Practice. Homehope.org is the website. If you're a practitioner, you're interested in looking to optimize health with your patients rather than treat disease, you can check us out. We have a 7-module certification course as well. If you're interested in my stuff personally, I'm at Dr. Scott Sherr on Instagram, drscottsherr.com. And I do a lot of consulting with individuals, with clinics, and all over the world. So this has been fun, guys. Thank you.
So as you can see, there's a lot of information in there. And I love how informative it is, but it's also fun. It was a fun interview, and figured, like, why not put this together and present it to the wider audience so that we can all start to understand some of the things that are out there that might give us a little bit of a boost in our performance and our overall lifestyle. So that's that. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have questions or concerns. And if you want to try it, let me know, hit me up, and I'll see if I can get you hooked up. All right. Until next time. Peace.